So what generates the growth in demand? So the story I'm going to tell is a story that says there's growth in the demand for more skilled workers, more high talented workers. At the same time, there's also going to be competing growth in supply. And everybody knows how economics works. If demand grows faster than supply, what happens? Prices rise. If supply grows faster than demand, what happens? Prices fall. That's it. That's all we know, and that's all we're going to do. Okay? That very simple story. So let's think about this market. What generates growth in demand for skilled labor? The answer is the same forces that generate economic progress more generally. So everybody know, where does economic progress come from? Let me give you a picture of progress. This is progress. Okay? This is a graph 120 years in the making, running from roughly 1890 to 2012. This is real per capita GDP measured on a log scale. Because I've measured it on a log scale, constant growth rate would be a straight line. This red line is, in fact, a trend line fit to those data. You can see the Great Depression, right? Everybody see the Great Depression? You see it? All right, just want to make sure you didn't miss it. You can see the Great Recession too, okay? Don't get them confused, okay? They're a little different in magnitude. There's a little difference, okay? They kind of look similar in shape, but the size is a little different, okay? All right, anyway. But anyway, I'm not going to focus on the fluctuations. I'm focused on this red line. What are we doing? What's pushing us up that line? How do we move up that line? Well, where does growth come from? First off, it comes from improvements in technology. Think about 1890 to 2010, right? We had so many new technologies come into the world over that period of time, right? We had electrification. We had the computer revolution. We had the internet revolution. We had, just new ideas after other. We didn't have cars back at the beginning of this thing, right? That is transportation revolution over that period of time. Now, when you get new technologies, you invest in physical capital. You build new power plants. You build new factories. You build new computer fabs to make computer chips. You build all kinds of new infrastructure. And number three, you invest in human capital. If you look at it, what we did over that period of time is we were increasing the education and skills of our population throughout that 120-year period. And those education and skills help people utilize those new technologies as well as build and implement those technologies. And a final notion is that the growth in markets, that is, markets expanded, and as markets grew and expanded, that created also new opportunities. Now, one of the things that we know is that technological progress, investment in physical capital, improved and integrated markets, investment in human capital, all those things lead to growth. All four of those factors are pushing us up that red line. That's what's moving us up that red line. We got better technology, more capital, better markets, more human capital. All four of those are pushing us up those red lines. At the same time, though, the first three are all raising the demand for skilled labor relative to unskilled labor. What do those new technologies have done? They've largely displaced low-skilled labor and created demand for high-skilled labor. Think about the automobile assembly line, where we sort of went from a bunch of people doing the physical side of the work to a world in which robots are doing all the work and there are people designing, building, and maintaining the robots, not the same demand for people. Similarly, economists have known for a long time that physical capital tends to be complementary with skilled labor, substitute for unskilled labor. We also know that expanding markets tend to allow the best people to even leverage their talents even more broadly. It's going to be particularly important at the very high end of the distribution, where if I'm now a basketball player in a very big world marketplace, I can be like LeBron James and I can earn, tens of millions of dollars a year compared to what Oscar Robertson or Wilt Chamberlain or somebody was able to do in earlier years. Just no comparison. The size of the market has expanded so dramatically. Human capital is the one that goes in the opposite direction. So think about a world in which over time we have that progress, that is more technology, more physical capital, more markets, all those things generating more demand for high-skilled labor. At the same time, we're producing more high-skilled labor. So all four forces is moving us up that red line, but there's this tug-of-war going on between the demand side, which is constantly pushing us up the line, and the supply side, which is trying to keep the return to human capital in line. So what happens is, every decade we get more and more demand for skills. If we produce enough skills to meet that demand, the premium for college and the premium for skills more generally won't go up. If we produce more skills than the market can absorb, premium will go down. And that's really the story. And it turns out that story fits the data very well. This is a model that Larry Katz and I developed way back here. We projected out a pretty good out-of-sample forecast, right? I only show out-of-sample forecasts that work. The ones that don't work, I don't show. So, but anyway, it's worked really well. And a lot of people have done other things. So this supply-demand story seems to fit these data and a lot of other ones. I'm not going to go into that in too much detail. So what's really happened is, over the 70s, supply grew faster than demand and the premium fell. Since the 70s, supply has grown slower than demand. Demand being driven by those same fundamental forces that have been going on for the last century. And that pushed the premium up.